Slightly late, but welcome everyone to today's webinar. This is the first this year in the series of our Food, Energy, Water Nexus seminar series. And then I want to welcome everyone that's here. This morning we would be talking about a topic that is very important and that I'm sure most of you can relate to. Today's topic would be building climate resilience in rural communities, a planning perspective. And we have with us one of the leading lights in this field globally, not just in South Africa, not just in sub-Saharan Africa, but globally, in the person of Professor Sylvester Mpandeli. And I know he's very busy, and he has agreed to speak to us here, and we thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful privilege. Before I hand over the microphone to him, I will just read very quickly, as a form of inspiration, a very much abridged version of Prof. Mpandeli's CV. It's way much larger, and I will not take your time reading everything, but very quickly I will just go through a very short summary. Prof. Sylvester Mpandeli is a highly accomplished and distinguished expert in the fields of the water, energy, food nexus, climate change adaptation, and agricultural water management. He holds several prestigious academic titles, and this includes the title of an adjunct professor at the University of Venda, Professor Extraordinaire at Tshwane University of Technology, Professor from 2006 to 2013, which establishes his reputation in international environmental diplomacy. His extensive experience, numerous publications, over more than 300 publications, and key leadership roles in various international and national organizations firmly establish his expertise in these critical areas. He is the Vice President Honorary at the International Commission on Irrigation and Drainage. He's also a member of both the International Executive Council and the Management Board at the ICID, that's the International Commission on Irrigation and Drainage. Prof. Mpandeli is the youngest ever recipient of the South African National Honor on Irrigation and Drainage Leadership Award in 2025. He is always invited as distinguished speakers at different forums across the globe over the past 25 years. His career is a testament to significant contributions and leadership, earning him a high level of respect and numerous accolades from international bodies. His contributions have been widely cited, and he is very influential in academic and policy-making circles, as evidenced by his Google Scholar, which has an H index of 35. It's my pleasure to invite Prof. Mpandeli. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Prof, for sharing my biography with colleagues, academics, students, and so on. Yes, it is true. My name is Sylvester Mpandeli. I prefer to call myself Sylvester Mpandeli. I'm a professor, anyway. I'm happy to be here at UJ today, and thanks for Prof and Dr. Njabulo for inviting me to talk about this very interesting topical issue. Just for you to understand my background, my first degree, obviously, it was on agriculture. Then I did 3 other degrees at the University of Pretoria, 2 honors degrees and a master's in irrigation and water resource management. Then I did my PhD. I graduated in 2006 here at University of Witwatersrand. I never had a qualification at UJ. I think I must come and do a short course here just to decorate my CV. As Prof has highlighted, I've got 25 years working experience in different sectors. I've worked in the environmental, agriculture and water sector. Over and above that, I'm actively involved in the global issues. I work at the Water Research Commission. I mean, I've been a program manager at the Agriculture Research Council. I also worked at the Department of Environmental Affairs by then as a specialist advisor on climate change adaptation, and then I've also been a director and a research manager, executive manager, you know. For me, the most important thing is to drive the research and development and innovation initiatives that can change the life of our people. Originally, I'm from Limpopo. You could see I'm a rural guy who has been transformed and tried to align with the modern system. The talk of my presentation is building climate resilience in rural communities, a planning perspective. The reason why I've put this presentation, Prof and colleagues, is based on the fact that Water Research Commission initiated a lighthouse program or flagship initiative. There were 7 at the beginning, including the Water Energy Food Nexus flagship lighthouse. And then there was one on climate change, another one on water behavior, big data, and so on. And I was given this program 1 week after John Water Research Commission in 2013. And the first 3 months I struggled to figure out how am I going to run this. And remember, I had a very good position at the department, and these guys now, they want me to run this. One of the things that I've done, and I'm saying this as a motivation to you guys, was to partner with guys who are full-time at the university. Remember, I manage research project focusing on water, agriculture, and sanitation activities, but this is a new focus area. And immediately after that, Sustainable Development Goals were developed by United Nations. I've decided to say, okay, fine. In order for me to run this program efficiently and effectively, was to lump it together with my day-to-day activities. And during that time, I think I had only 18 publications. That was just a small number. But I started organizing workshops and so on, looking at the water, energy, food nexus, climate change issues, focusing in both rural and urban areas, and also working with smallholder farmers and commercial farmers. The reason why I'm so passionate about water, energy, food nexus, climate change, adaptation activities, and agriculture water management is the fact that, I mean, those 3 components assist me to derive my activities in an integrated manner or in a nexus way. And gone are the days wherein organizations will find projects that is focusing on a linear approach or a silo approach. What am I trying to say here? You can't run a project that's also going to focus only on biophysical aspect and then neglect socio-economic issues. So for me, I'm happy about that fact that, I mean, the water, energy, food nexus that I'm coordinating at Water Research Commission, it's linked to the National Development Plan. It's also linked to Sustainable Development Goals. I was happy, Prof, when I see all this. Firstly, it shows that, I mean, UJ is aligning itself with the global challenges. It shows that, I mean, UJ is providing local solution that has got a global impact. This is very, very important. And over and above that, we shouldn't forget about the policy issues. We need to address the science policy interface. if you look at the first slides, understanding the challenges in rural areas, majority of us, we are from there. And we need to understand that service delivery is a big thing. I don't need to overemphasize this issue considering the fact that local government elections are just around the corner. And as Water Research Commission, our motto is that let us generate knowledge that will change or impact the life of our people. We know that, majority of provinces in this country are based in rural areas. So we have got the responsibility to make sure that the research that we generate is also linked to policy initiatives, and we also need to identify strategic partners for implementation. Climate change impacts, we know very well that South Africa forms part of the global community, and we are part of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. That's where climate change issues are negotiated. I've been there since 2006 and 2013. I'm one of those guys who have assisted various countries, especially those from developing countries, to initiate a project on National Climate Change Adaptation Plan, and also programs that deals with agriculture. My focus was more on climate change adaptation issues. I'm happy to say that, guys who are pushing the negotiations, they are doing very well, considering the fact that they continue with our position as a country. And remember, South African positions, it's informed by knowledge that is generated by universities, like University of Johannesburg. The position is also informed by knowledge that is generated from state-owned entities like Water Research Commission, CSIR, Agriculture Research Council, and so on. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that we need each other. It doesn't matter where you are sitting or where you are from or which institutions you are coming from, because the fact of the matter is that climate change affects all of us. And over and above that, we have got responsibility to also work closely with our neighboring countries or countries in the SADC region. And we also have got the responsibility to take care of Africa in general. There are so many bilaterals, multilateral systems that have been initiated on the African continent and also at global level. The other issue that I would also like to highlight is the fact that while we are busy doing research and development, developing technologies or innovations, we also have got the responsibility to make sure that, we build human capital development, or we build, emphasize or focus on capacity building initiative. You guys, you have got good opportunity to explore your talent and so on. Some of us, we've been exposed to technology or computer when I was doing postgraduate students. So you can imagine the struggle, but you guys, you have got gadgets, you can spoil yourself and all those kind of things. And over and above that, take advantage of the opportunities that are there. Those opportunities are not going to be there forever. So if you dilly-dally, you're going to waste your time, and the bottom line is that you will miss the bus. The other issue that I would also like to highlight is the degraded environments. We know very well that, the agriculture sector, it's a culprit and a victim. I'm saying this because the emissions coming from the agriculture sector, it creates problems, in the atmosphere. And over and above that, the chemicals that are being used in order to obtain high yields, those chemicals have got implications on the environment. And over and above that, we know that the agriculture sector in this country utilizes 62% of our water resources. But the situation is changing because of the innovations and technology. And University of Johannesburg, is well known for coming up with very innovative products. We are proud of you guys. Keep on doing the good work, collaborate, and make sure that we assist various climate sensitive sectors in order for them to be able to cope, in order for them to be able to adapt, and also to be able to build a very strong resilience system so that, I mean, we counteract whatever natural vagaries that we are facing. Another issue that I would like to highlight, access to appropriate technologies, lack of operations and maintenance, which is a big problem. And you realize that, I mean, if we don't maintain our infrastructure, the infrastructure, it's under agriculture, water, biodiversity, whatsoever, the maintenance, the operation and the maintenance is a problem. And that is why today we are facing water challenges. And make no mistake, it's not like we don't have knowledge. The knowledge is there, but we need to put the right guys to be able to do the job. And over and above that, we need to maintain our infrastructure in such a way that we will be able to conserve our water resources. You go to countries in Middle East who are receiving below normal rainfall, let me say less than 100 millimeters per annum. But those countries are producing high products by using less water. And this is the principle that has been used by Food and Agriculture Organization at the United Nations. And as Water Research Commission, together with our partners, we have implemented those ideas or the principles, so that at the end of the day, because you know South Africa falls among the 30 driest countries, and we have got the responsibility to make sure that, I mean, we conserve our resources by making sure that we produce more by using less. Another issue that I will also like to highlight is the migration of people from rural to urban areas. I've indicated during my introduction that I'm from Limpopo province. I'm an economic migrant here in Gauteng province. And I do believe that some of you are also coming from other provinces. But the bottom line is that we need to look at the current infrastructure that we have. Does the current infrastructure can accommodate the movement of people from rural to urban areas? Can it cope? Are there any other option, alternatives that we can do in order to make sure that we don't overload the infrastructure? You know very well that, I mean, when it is raining, especially in some parts of Gauteng province, there will be floods. In fact, we have witnessed terrible floods in Limpopo, Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal, and Eastern Cape early this year. And you ask yourself, but South Africa as a country has got the capability and the potential to make sure that, I mean, we prevent some of those things. Yes, we've got very advanced early warning systems and so on. But we also need to change our behavior and attitude. I'm linking this with the issue of the operation and maintenance, because if you look some of the drainage systems that have been developed, firstly, some of those drainage, they are not resilient. They cannot cope with the intensity and the frequency of floods that we are experiencing in the country. And it's you and I who can try to make sure that, I mean, we change the situation. Lack of adaptive capacity. Majority of our people, the fact that, I mean, they are based in rural areas and they are vulnerable, especially youth and women. We also have got programs that deal with youth and women at Water Research Commission. And you will see some of the projects that we are running in rural areas, so that, I mean, we improve the life of our people. And over and above that, some of the projects that we are running are assisting community members to create, I mean, job opportunities, especially those who are in the SMMEs categories. Over and above that, the projects that we are running, one of the strengths of the Water Research Commission is the fact that each and every project that we have with our key strategic partners, it has got 3 components. The first component deals with capacity building, which means that we want to build capacity building at postgraduate level. We support students from honors, masters, PhD to postdoctoral level. And this works very well. For example, the program that I'm running on water use, I think I've got more than 200 postgraduate students across the country. Another, component is to make sure that, we'll build capacities within communities. We cannot just go and mine data in a community and then disappear. We have got the responsibility to work with those community members in order to empower them. The third component, which is also very, very important, I know that university emphasizes that, is the knowledge dissemination. In other words, the knowledge that we generate, we need to share with colleagues at different forums. That is why when I joined Water Research Commission, my predecessor, or my former boss, had a meeting with me to say, Sylvester, you are still young, very energetic and all those kind of things. But make sure that, when you go to the conference, you are also contributing something. I look at him, I said, but what do you mean? I'm a manager, I'm fine, I'm okay. He said, that is not enough. And he used an example about the fact that 60% of our projects are with various universities all over the country. And you can imagine if I only have got maybe an honors or a master's, I'm telling Prof to say, your deliverables is of a poor quality. He will just ask me a very simple question: what is your contribution in terms of body of knowledge? And that thing sort of triggers another thinking to say, let me also contribute. Remember, I'm comfortable at Water Research Commission. There's no, whether I publish or I don't publish, Water Research Commission will never penalize me. But I took a strategic decision to say, I will work with the various universities all over the globe, so that I can gauge my strength with my peers. And that is why today I've got more than, I've got more than 350 publications, including scientific papers, book chapters, conference proceedings, technical reports. This is also very, very important. For you guys, especially those who want to take academics, make no mistakes, if you are not publishing, you must just forget about promotion. So for me, I'm safe because I was advised and I took that advice seriously. The beneficiaries of multi-use system program. This is one of the programs that was funded by Flanders government. And you could see that, this slide, it shows vegetable garden, it shows the hydroponic system, and for us, we are saying we need to empower our youth and women. We have been running this project in Guyana, in Limpopo province. A lot of people, community members, were actively involved in. This project is addressing 3 components. It's addressing water, energy, and food securities. And for us as Water Research Commission, we are saying this is the best way to go, because we don't want to tackle one component and neglect other components. And as a result of that, it will assist us, to maintain our natural resources. Remember, if we don't take care of our natural resources, we'll deplete those resources one day, and the future generation is going to point fingers at us to say, but what are you guys doing? Some of these vegetables that we produce, we shared with local schools in the area, and we also have got another project, the next slide, in Mamelodi area, and I'm so proud of that project. Yes, it's not hard science or whatsoever, but we were planting vegetables to different schools. And guess what? Every Friday we made sure that, I mean, we give, we gave, I mean, we dished out 300 packs of vegetables to each child, especially those who are struggling at household level. And we empower youth, we employed youth and women. So for us as an organization, it shows that we are aligning ourselves with government priorities. It shows that, I mean, we want to be part of the solution, and we want to address socio-economic challenges that we are facing in this country. This is the biogas project. Some of you who are familiar with the biogas project, the whole idea is to make sure that you generate energy, but also at the same time, you also produce the slurry. This is the slurry on my far right. We use this to generate energy, and that slurry is also being used as a fertilizers or as an input, especially for vegetable production. This is the energy that is being generated at household level. And then this slide, it shows one of the biogas systems that is that we have installed in different schools. And the lady is dishing food, because we want to make sure that, I mean, we address issues related to food security and nutrition. And one of the projects that we are running in different schools is to make sure that, I mean, we complement government feeding scheme. It is not only the responsibility of government departments to address some of the socio-economic challenges that our research, if it's not assisting policymakers to make strategic decisions, if our research is not assisting to improve the livelihood of our people, and if our research is not assisting community members to create job opportunities, and also making sure that, I mean, we conserve our natural resources, it means that we are doing irrelevant research. And remember, by the way, we don't get parliamentary grant like CSIR, Agriculture Research Council. We get a water levy. Each liter of water, drinking water that you take, we get a certain percentage as water research company. It's a very unique model in the Southern Hemisphere. In fact, in Africa, we are the only organization that is using that model. If you look at these slides, you will link it up with the title, which is Building Climate Resilience in Rural Communities. Colleagues, we know that, I mean, climate change is here with us, and what we need to do is to make sure that, I mean, we build very strong adaptive capacity and resilience. There's nothing we can do. We can throw hands in the air or stand on top of the roof. The fact of the matter is that climate change threatens our livelihood. Climate change threatens the economies of various countries across the globe. And climate change is now becoming a political game. It's no longer about science. Those who are involved in intergovernmental panel on climate change, and also those who are involved at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, it's about power play. I've been there, I've seen it all. You can spend half a day talking or discussing about between might and may, which one is strong. I mean, English is not my first language, but there are those who can play around with words just to construct a paragraph so that countries can agree to say, this is the paragraph that we are adopting. So you can see that science is taking a backseat, politics and the power, it's at the forefront. This slide, it shows that, I mean, since 1952 to 2020, we have been experiencing extreme climatic events. We've been experiencing high climate variability. We've been experiencing climate change challenges. And climate change is affecting all climate sensitive sectors, your water, your agriculture, your biodiversity, and so on. And that is why the issue related to water, energy, food, is very, very critical, because it gives us an opportunity to create synergies, to create trade-offs, to also harmonize our activities. Gone are the days wherein the energy sector will just develop plans that have got, or strategies that have got implications in the agriculture sector, or plans that will have implications in the water sector. In fact, I don't need even to go too far. We are in Johannesburg here. When there is load shedding, it affects water distribution. But what I'm trying to say is to show you the connection, to say these things are interlinked, and these three sectors need to speak with one voice. And the fact of the matter is that it affects various sectors, including the health, because hospital to have generators, you can't do operations if you don't have infrastructure in order to deal with load shedding. And the drought and the flood early warning framework, somebody was telling me, Sylvester, every time when there are floods in South Africa, it affects part of Mozambique. And the fact that Mozambique is in a low-lying area. How do we deal, with this floods story, and how do we make sure that those who are in the low-lying areas taking effective response? And my response was very simple, to say, get climate advisory information in advance, and we also need to jack up our early warning system. There's nothing we can do. We are dealing with natural vagaries, and we have got the responsibility to make sure that we protect lives, we protect infrastructure, we protect the economy at different levels. 3 years ago, KwaZulu-Natal province lost more than 400 people. And we also need to coordinate our activities, and that is where we need universities, we need science councils, so that we deal with this climate change challenges, drought flood analysis, and we also need to make sure that our focus is to provide knowledge, but that knowledge should also influence the policy positions and so on. Some of you are aware that this country has got the best policies. Whether you are talking policies related to water, policies related to energy, policies related to agriculture. But the biggest problem that we have is the fact that we are not implementing those policies. They are there in our shelves. They are there on the tables and so on. And it's not like maybe it's a yesterday issue. It has got history. So what we need to do is to make sure that we use universities, science councils, private sector, NGOs. And let me give you an example. During COVID, we were doing so well because we were relying on science. You will get a briefing in the morning, the rate in which COVID is affecting our people, the number of deaths and all those kind of. In the afternoon, it was the same thing. In the evening, in fact, we were so used to this briefing session to such an extent that our politicians were becoming, scientists, and that is the way to go, especially if we want this country to move away from coal-based economy to knowledge-based economy. I mean, like China, for example. If you go and look at the statistics, how many PhD students are graduating every year, you will collapse if you see the figure. When and where should forecasting happen? Look, forecasting is climate advisory is very, very important, and for us, we do believe that there are various interventions that we can look at it. Remember at the beginning of this climate change negotiations, IPCC and so on, the perception was that we need to focus more on mitigation than adaptation. And there were specific reasons, because mitigation has got market incentives. And that is why, private sector guys have got a huge interest. Climate change adaptation is more of a developmental stuff, and the majority of people think this is the responsibility of government. When I was at the Department of Environmental Affairs, by then, we were busy developing the National Climate Change Response Policy. And one of the strategic decisions that we took was to make sure that when you develop that National Climate Change Response Policy, it should be aligned with the sectors, not the department. Remember, departments can change names at any time. Before previous elections, we had the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. Now it has been changed to Department of Agriculture. But if it's a sector, if it's a agriculture sector, it won't change. And by doing that, it also assisted us to bring in guys from local government. And I know we had a very interesting debate, because they were saying climate change challenges needs to have their own independent budget, and we said no, you need to factor that as part of local economic development, or you need to factor this into your existing programs. I like this slide because it shows the various elements that you can use as part of adaptation and resilience. Impacts on livelihood and the environment. But at the bottom line is that we are facing several disasters, whether it's cyclones, floods, drought, and so on. It affects our lives, it affects our economies, it affects our income, and therefore we need to come up with the various strategic interventions. These slides, I prefer to use this, especially when I'm talking about climate change challenges, because this slide, it also shows that if we don't plan our infrastructure properly, whether at local government or whatsoever, look at these houses. These are massive houses. But the fact that, local government fails to do proper due diligence to say, can you build your house in this area? And we always emphasize the fact that low-lying area, it has got a history. And you need to go and look at the climate data for the past 50 years. For us, we are saying climate change, drought have emerged as one of the greatest challenges that are affecting humankind. And we know that, climate change is threatening those climate sensitive sectors. For us, we believe that we need to do cross-sectoral assessment. We also need to, in an integrated manner, but over and above that is to acknowledge that we cannot continue with the business as usual. We need to change the way we do things. And over and above that, due to high extreme climatic events and high climate variability and change. If you look at the water quality, let's forget about the maintenance of infrastructure at local level. These are all multi-stresses that we are facing. For us as Water Research Commission, we are saying water, energy, food nexus and scenario planning are the way to go if we want to sustain our livelihood and make sure that we continue with our lives without any serious challenges. Some statistics you could see, I'm not going to read paragraph, point by point, but suffice to say that we have also got the responsibility to feed this country or to feed the global community. I mean, the science or statistics tells us that by 2050, the global population will reach 9 billion. Where are we going to get food? Where are we going to get water? Where are we going to get energy? How do we make sure that we produce food that are rich in nutrients? And how do we make sure that, we improve the livelihood of the majority of the vulnerable people? So you could see that the intensity and the frequency of disaster will always be there, you know? And we also need to take various indicators, including indigenous knowledge system. My mom, she's 94 now. Sometimes when I go to Limpopo, she will tell me, due to these local indicators, it seems like the following season we're going to have drought. We are not going to get above normal rainfall and all those kind of things. We need to make sure that we integrate indigenous knowledge system with the conventional science. The unfortunate with the indigenous knowledge system is the fact that it is not documented, and those older people, they are too conservative, they don't want to share that information. But it's you and I who can make sure that we speak to our parents and our grandparents to share that knowledge, because indigenous knowledge system is well recognized even at United Nations level. You could see that, the agriculture sector is using 70% of our water resources, and there are projections that by 2030, 47% of the world population will be living in high stress environment. We know that, here in South Africa, Cape Town experienced day zero during 2015, 2016. And by the way, talking about day zero activities, Water Research Commission has done a study in 1995, and we won City of Cape Town to say they will experience day zero. You know, scientists will never be taken serious. 20 years down the line, or 10 years the line, they experience the problem. But what I'm trying to say is the fact that we need to look at various water options, various energy options. Government now talks about renewable energy. For the water sector, we look at groundwater, and we also need to look at other sources, and we need to make sure that we capture the rain that we are getting, whether it's below or above normal rainfall. But the bottom line is that we need to capture that so that we can use it during a drought or uncertainty period. The issue of electricity, hydropower, and so on, we know that hydropower needs to be effective and efficient if we have got enough water resources. There are countries in the SADC region that they've got big hydropower system. And for example, DRC always experience above normal rainfall. If you compare with South Africa, our annual, average rainfall varies from 440 to 860 millimeters, which is way below the global average rainfall. An overview of water resources in Southern Africa. Why am I saying Southern Africa? It's based on the fact that, number one, climate change does not recognize boundaries. And the fact that, I mean, we share some of the hydrological system with some of the SADC countries. You know very well that Gauteng province gets water from the Lesotho Highlands. And okay, we pay a certain amount of money. We have also even increased the level of the Lesotho Highland project. The fact of the matter is that we cannot operate in an island as a country. We need other, we need support from other countries in the SADC region. We also need to work together as Africans who are living on the in the African continent. And nobody's gonna come out of Africa to solve our problems. It's you and I who need to sit down and say, let us address our issues. I know very well that government, I mean, has already allocated almost 98% of our water resources. We need to maneuver and make sure that we cater all economic sectors that are using water, so that, I mean, we stimulate the economy of this country. Over and above that, unfortunately, the SADC region is situated in a high vulnerable, I mean, regions. And we need to make sure that we come up with programs that will assist us to counteract whatever natural vagaries that we are facing. This slide just shows the challenges that we are facing. And the interesting thing is that South Africa is not immune to these climate change challenges that we are facing. All of us, we are facing those challenges. It's either we face El Nino or La Nina. And if you look at the available freshwater resources, they're being taken by other key economic sectors. The projection of regional agriculture plan processes, I mean, and also making sure that we focus more on irrigation activities in order to increase production and making sure that we are producing high quality food. Over and above that, irrigation initiatives, we use that as part of the climate change adaptation initiatives. What needs to change to adapt to the, I mean, adaptation transformative approaches? For us, it's very simple. In order for us to drive our activities, remember, the Water Energy Food Nexus story, it started in 2011 at the Bonn conference, wherein head of states agreed that these three sectors, water, agriculture, and energy, needs to work together in order to minimize duplication and also competition. And as a result of that, we are saying scientific, technical, engineering dimensions, it needs to be factored, and also organizational, economic, social, and political changes. If you look at the SDG goals number 2, that is with 0, goal number 6, goal number 7. When we started the Water Energy Food Nexus in 2013, we were looking at those goals. But our understanding is that let us drive all this in a transformative manner, and we should also factor the issue of policies at different scales and levels. And over and above that, we do believe that once we build capacity and also making sure that we implement the outcomes or recommendations coming from our research output, we'll be able to address some of the challenges that we are facing. Drivers and enablers of Water Energy Food Nexus, this is sort of the core of what we are doing as an organization. But together with our key strategic partners, we cannot address this alone, and we do believe that, I mean, integration or integrated approach is the way to go in order for us to address this. A response to extreme climatic events, I spend a lot of time overemphasizing issues related to early warning system, climate advisories, and so on. But there are programs that we have developed together with other institutions, including government departments, like climate smart agriculture, you know, Food and Agriculture Organization is actively involved there, pushing, making sure that, I mean, we increase production and productivity. The greenhouse gas emissions, I don't know how many trees the Gauteng provincial government has planted so far, but I am aware that, I mean, more than 1 million trees have been planted in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Conserving, I mean, forest cover. We need to make sure that, I mean, our forest are used to stimulate the economy of, I mean, local government. We also need to make sure that we use our forests to create job opportunities. Another issue is resource use efficiency practices. This is the only way to deal with wastage and water leaks and post-harvest losses. You mentioned them. We need to do this, all these initiatives, integrative energy water management practices, increase storage water capacity. Water Research Commission, Department of Agriculture, Water Incentive, they've got programs that deal with rainwater harvesting, wherein we capture water from the roof and keep it in a storage facilities so that such kind of water can be used during uncertainty period. This is my favorite slides because it accommodates social challenges, environmental challenges, and also economic challenges. The fact of the matter is that we are facing multi-stresses, and as a result of that, we need to make sure that we derive issues related to population growth, urbanization, globalization, the changing dietary requirements. Some of us, I mean, we are being categorized as a middle class. We've changed our dieting requirements. We demand this type of food and all those kind of things. Nutritional challenges, industrial, cultural, livestock increase. All this needs to be factored as part of the Nexus planning. The transition and the transformative approach is very, very, very important for human element and also for our natural resources. We also need to make sure that, I mean, we respond to those vulnerability, Nexus planning, preparedness and response and recovery. Colleagues, this is very, very, very important. For you guys who are busy with your studies and so on, gone are the days wherein you'll sit and say, no, look, I'm a climatologist. I only focus on climatology. I'm not going to worry about other things. I never thought one day I would worry about economic issues. When Reserve Bank is increasing interest rates, I said, oh my God, they've started again. So this is a reality. In other words, I'm saying we need graduates who have got or who understand the transdisciplinary or multidisciplinary approach. If we want to address the challenges that we are facing across socioeconomic issues, challenges that we are facing, I mean, within the Sustainable Development Agenda, and the fact that, I mean, now we form part of the global community. We have got the responsibility to make sure that, I mean, we come up with technology or innovations locally, but that has got a global impact. You could see that, I mean, here we are talking about issues like holistic, socio-economic, ecological system. We need to respond among all these kind of things. And we do believe that the fact that, I mean, climate change is here with us, for us, we'll have to stick with the water, energy, food nexus approach. The interaction is very clear. And we also need to make sure that, I mean, all these high climatic variability, extreme climatic events should be factored as part of the adaptation strategies. I spoke about the hydropower and so on. And for me, the most important thing is to make sure that the integration of climate change adaptation strategies into water energy food nexus offers opportunity to create proper resources, coordination, harmonization across all sectors, and also to improve resilience and reduce vulnerability to attain regional development targets. We know that, there are so many regional initiatives that have been initiated by our government and also other countries in the region, or initiatives that have been created at African Union level. I was part of the team that developed the climate change framework. And you could see that, everybody is trying to do something so that, we deal with these big challenges that we are facing. But for this country, the problem is that we are facing these three big monsters: high unemployment rate, poverty, and inequality. And we need to make sure that, we produce graduates like you who will be able to meet market demands, but also making contributions so that, we address some of the challenges that we're facing. Forget about corruption stories. That one is just another discussion for another day. But the bottom line is that we need to work together. We need to make sure that, universities, science councils, private sector, NGOs, we must make sure that we speak with one voice. And we also need to make sure that in order to sustain our natural resources and also to achieve the SDG goals that have been set. In fact, by the way, the other day, we had a meeting, and that's when I've realized that due to COVID challenges, whatever we were progressing or achieving towards SDGs has been reversed by COVID challenges that we experienced a few years ago. So we'll wait and see what's going to happen in 2030. Maybe there will be new proposals, new approaches, so that, we address these challenges that we are facing. Prof, this is my presentation, and thanks, colleagues, for listening. I know I spent a lot of time, but I thought, let me just share this experience with you. I've also gone through the process. I was a student, and I grab whatever opportunities that are there. And if you are interested to submit proposal to Water Research Commission, work with Prof, and then he will guide you, we will guide you how to submit a well-accepted proposal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Sylvester. Do we have questions for him? Questions? Is there another mic? Okay. Guys, questions for Prof. Okay.
Good day, sir. I would like, you mentioned the big data knowledge, so I would like to know where can we access so we can enhance the big data and tap in the big data.
Yes, in fact, it's a good comment or question. One of the things that we are battling with within the water energy food nexus space is the availability of data. Let me say, availability of data, but over and above that, we need reliable data in order for us to be able to drive our activities. I will give you an example. World Meteorological Organization has developed a framework that gives an opportunity various countries to access climate data. But the challenge that we are facing now, it's not about accessing raw data. It's accessing, quality or processed data, because you need somebody to do verification, making sure that you do quality control, and that's where the issue of cost comes in. I know that, at South African Weather Service or Agricultural Research Council, If you are a student, you can get that data for free. But if you want to use that data for commercial activities, you pay a certain amount. So there's this debate to say, but these institutions are funded by taxpayers' money. Why should we do that? It's discussion for another day. Data availability is a problem, and to access it in some of the institutions or sectors, it becomes problematic. Yeah, but we shouldn't give up. I know there's ongoing discussions because I'm also a deputy chairperson of the board at the South African Weather Service, and these are the issues that we are addressing.
Any further questions?
I'm not sure if you covered this already in the slides because I came in late, but I wanted to ask that from an engineering perspective, how would you suggest we approach this problem and solve it?
I know engineers, you like working with the numbers.
Yes.
But what you need to do is to accommodate. I always said, Prof, we need to work together with social scientists, economists, art scientists, and all those kind of things, in order to address challenges that we are facing. You might find that, you want to create a bridge here, and not knowing that every 20 years there are serious floods that affect the area. But if you get a historian or a social scientist, he or she will tell you, but it's not possible. You need to divert it because every 20 years there are always disasters there. What I'm trying to say is that engineers must start working with economists, social scientists, and guys who are driving sustainable development agenda. That's how we need to drive our activities in an integrated manner. Are you happy? Yeah. Okay, so you will start initiating friendship with guys from other departments, just to get a different perspective.
Good day, Prof. Thank you for the presentation. Yeah. Mike, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. All right, so we've been talking about, you showed a slide on statistics at the global level, and we know that this is imminent. So how is SA using the circular economy model or principles to actually achieve some of these problems, to solve them?
Yes, we are doing that. Remember, the Department of Science and Technology has initiated the circular economic activities. Also, Water Research Commission, we've got projects looking at the circular economic activities. A very good example is the project that we have in Cape Town, wherein we are using wastewater to irrigate table grapes. Gone are the days wherein we say, this is a waste, we don't want to associate with it. Remember, recycling, reuse. Exactly. So we are using that principle or understanding, and so that we use those wastewater resources even to create job opportunities, and also allowing other sectors to use it in order to sustain the production.
Any further questions for Prof? Prof, I have a question.
Okay.
I think you mentioned now that science is being overshadowed by politics, right?
Exactly.
I want to talk about this, the water, energy, food nexus in the context of the AI race and then the various sustainability goals. We are seeing many countries in the global north working back on most of their commitments.
Exactly.
For net zero, and all of that. Everybody is working back. UK is doing so. They are bringing back power plants.
Power plant, the coal, in fact.
Cool, yeah. And then at the same time, we in Africa,
we're expected to do the correct thing.
We're expected to do the correct thing, yes. And they are not doing the correct thing because they want to be competitive. In fact, I saw an article recently that the UK, the big data, the companies, the FANG, Facebook, Apple, and all of that, were telling the UK governments that if they want to be competitive and catch up in the AI race, they have to discard all of these rules that they have. What is the South African government, or well, in your own position, what's the Water Research Commission, or what's your thought about that? And how do we ensure now that we are able to still be economically competitive? Because we need industrialization.
Yeah, exactly.
We need jobs for our people. How does that work, sir?
Look, remember the president approved the climate change bill, which has got a component that deals with just energy transition, and there are funding attached to that program. And over and above that, ESCOM has decommissioned some of the power stations. You go to Northern Cape, there's a huge area that has got a renewable energy project. The point is, South Africa forms a part of the global community, and we are there at multilateral system, pushing issues so that we sustain our activities, and we have accepted those commitments. It's a pity that the politics is taking the center stage. You look at countries like Germany; they are also pushing on coal stuff. And you look at the same coal stuff, some of them, they are from here. It means that then we export that. And then on the other hand, you are being told, no, you should not over-rely on coal. And we also need to think about job losses. We also need to think about the economy of this country. Yes, there must be transition, but it must be done in a sustainable manner, And Africa needs to speak with one voice. I'm happy about the fact that there are so many young guys coming from Africa who are coming up with innovative ideas, and whether either within the energy space, agriculture space, water and so on, the technologies that they are coming up. And Water Research Commission, to answer your question, Water Research Commission has got programs that are okay, we've got Water Energy Food Nexus, we have also factored the circular economy program. And now we are pushing so hard with this demonstration of technology, especially within the sanitation space, to say we need to produce a technology that's not gonna use water when you're in the bathroom. And it's there. It's a pity that the adoption of such kind of technology is very slow for various reasons.
So do we expect a South African response?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think so. If you look at various programs that are being formulated, also implemented at national level, you could see that the light at the end of the tunnel. But it's going to be a process. It's work in progress, because you can imagine if we just wake up one morning and say, we do away with coal, what's going to happen to the economy of this country?
No easy answers.
Right? No easy answers. Yeah.
No, but because I feel now Africa needs to industrialize. And industrialization is dependent on cheaper sources of energy, right? And Africa also needs to fight in this AI race. And as everybody is saying now, with data centers, for instance, now, Prof, data centers, they use a lot of energy. They use significant amount of water. I think I saw a study that says a data center might use about 7,000 liters of water, right? So for South Africa, that is energy scarce, water scarce. If we need to get more data centers, then there's also going to be ecological implications. So I think we need
to think out of the box, and also being innovative. Yeah.
Any further questions for Prof before I release him? He's been standing. Okay.
Thank you so much for the informative section, Prof. So you did mention that we should get secrets out of our fathers, our old aged people. And my question is, when we have these secrets, when we talk to them, and now we want to take it forward, how do we balance it with scientific sense? Like, how do you prove it with respect to knowledge? And
Look, the point is, and don't get me wrong, indigenous knowledge is very, very important. But due to the intensity and the frequency of these extreme climatic events, and also the impact of climate change, some of those indicators are no longer relevant. But the most important thing is to make sure that we document that indigenous knowledge so that it can be used by future generations. And over and above that, we need to do verification. I mean, they are very good. You go to Limpopo, they will tell you it's gonna rain this evening. I mean, we see these birds flying all over, making noise and all those kind of things. But it's not properly documented. Do you get what I'm saying? And then the next thing, you lose your grandmom. She goes away with that knowledge. But if it was properly documented, because we need to be proud of our indigenous knowledge understanding. But over and above that, he has mentioned the issue of, artificial intelligence. In fact, your former VC, Prof. Marwala, is at the forefront pushing this thing. But we need to do systematically and in such a way that we don't leave anyone's behind. You know the history of this country, majority of our people, they struggle to read and so on. And how do we make sure that we reskill them, make sure that, they form part of the economy. So there are so many pros and cons or things that we need to look at before we completely embrace artificial intelligence or fourth industrial revolution. We must also think about the job losses and so on. Are you happy? You want to document those indigenous knowledge
so
now?
how do we, when documenting, how do we do the verification? You say we must also verify.
It must be factored as part of the curriculum.
How, sir?
Remember, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, when there was a debate about reviewing the history of certain grades? Is it grade 10 or 11? I can't remember exactly. To say that history is not correctly conceptualized. We are doing that. I know South African Weather Service has documented indigenous knowledge related to climate and weather. Very good initiative, but we need to do more. And engineers, remember, one of the things that influenced Professor Marwala to be, this top guru, was the fact that his grandmother developed a pot wherein he tested it using, the engineering understanding. So in other words, there's a link between engineering and indigenous knowledge.
Thank you very much, Prof. The next speaker should be Prof. Johnny Dladga, Professor of Practice at UJ. Unfortunately, he told me he lost his mother yesterday, so he's not going to be able to come through. But Dr. Love, he sent his presentation. He still had time to finish his presentation. Well, he had already finished his presentation, which is a good skill set to have to do things when it's not the last minute. I know if you're students, you probably have done it this morning. But he had finished his presentation and he was able to share the presentation. So Dr. Love will quickly go through the presentation. Ideally, he should have to come before Prof. Sylvester's session to provide some bit of background on what is the food, energy, water nexus. But Dr. Love will do it quickly, and then we'll take questions, if any. Then we'll now go for lunch. We'll go for refreshment. Let me put it that way. Dr. Love, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Good morning, everyone. I trust you're doing great. It's a privilege to meet Prof. I don't know if you remember me. During my PhD, I sent an email for interview. I was developing a FEWS Nexus framework, and then you directed me to Dr. Luzon. Yeah. Thank you so much, Prof, for being here. And thank you for the wonderful presentation. Just like Prof have said, we're making this presentation on behalf of Prof. Dadler, and we'll go through the WEF, what it is, the essence of the Nexus, and where climate change is affecting these three resources. Then thereafter also, we'll go through practical examples of Nexus actions, and also we'll talk about the role of digitalization and what we have done also within our own research center here at the University of Johannesburg. So I want to believe everybody likes pizza, right? Who doesn't like pizza? Everybody. Now, pizza is a food on its own. But the makeup is done with what? Water and heat, energy. Likewise, every other things that we have in this world. You can't do without water, energy, and food resources every day. Just imagine there's load shedding. You are affected, your productivity is affected. Some places, water system is affected. Some of you, if you are not using gas, it is affected. That is what the water energy resources means to human beings. It's an economic resources. But irrespective of that, there is a new dimension that Prof have made a presentation on the nexus of these three resources. That if you want to produce food, you will need energy. You will need water. If you also want to some form of energy, you also still need what? Water. Likewise, these three resources, they are so interwoven that an impact on one affects the other. It's just like what we have in project management. Once you change the scope, it affects the time, it affects the cost of the project. Likewise, also the WEF Nexus also. But at this junction of the Nexus is what we call the perfect storm. Because there is always a simultaneous need for these three resources. Our population is increasing. Prof talks about the drivers earlier. Population growth, innovations. All these drivers are increasing the demand for these three resources. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? And that is some of the activities that has been done at the Water Research Commission, and is also one of our own focus areas as a research center that we have been researching on in the last few years. But just like these three resources are very vital, we have another problem of climate change, which is affecting the availability, the stability of these three resources. So, for instance, for water, we can see that there is reduced rainfall given the effect or the impact of climate change. Likewise, also in energy, also infrastructures are being disrupted. The way we have our food security, also there is lower crop yield also from the farms because of what? Climate change. So this topic today is now saying that we can build climate resilience. And what is resilience? Your ability to withstand something. Are you strong enough? We are not contextualizing it to the rural areas. And the question is, why the rural areas? And that is the most neglected aspect of our society. The water, energy, and food resource at that space is very neglected. Many people will just focus on, in the urban area, you have your snacks. In the rural area, it's just the local foods that are there. There are solutions here in the urban areas. Some of you might not even cook for 3 days straight, but you are eating. But in our rural areas, it's not like that. So we're trying to build climate resilience, given the impact of climate change on these three resources. We now want to build resilience through the Nexus approach, the FEW Nexus approach. So in a nutshell, we are just trying to say that the FEW Nexus is, if you are looking at food resources, you are looking at the production of food resources, have a consideration for energy systems. Have a consideration for water system. You can say, okay, I want to just focus on energy alone. What effect does that solutions you want to create for energy, what effect does it have on water? What effect does it have on food? So, and that is the essence of today's presentation. So it is just one interconnected system that is under stress. Everybody needs water, energy, and food. A research paper stated that if the population continues to grow with the increasing populations, there will be increased water, energy, and food demand. It might lead to a catastrophic end for the world. And that is why you see most of these advanced countries, they are bringing in new forms of GMO food, bringing in new forms of energy systems and products just to cater for their population. So it's one interconnected system that is under stress. And this is a typical example from Eastern Cape, where the impact of climate change is affecting, leading to inconsistent rains, a shrinking river. Diesel fuel's cost has increased by 30 to 40%. There's also intermittent power by midday, rising post-harvest losses. So if you check it and say, okay, let me just focus on water issue alone without looking at the energy impact or the food impact. You just want to focus on energy, then I'm fine. You are wrong. Because as you are creating that solutions for that particular resource system, the other two that you fail to neglect will have impact on that particular system. So it's an interconnected system. And if you look at it across food, energy, and water, in the food, climate change is leading to crop yields declining, post-harvest losses are rising, and also food security is strengthening. Even in the energy sector now, I believe all of you know that there is a war right now between Iran and US. The Strait of Hormuz. I know some of us would have seen those things online. It's affecting the energy cost. The normal price, I think that I saw a report from the minister that the fuel price will increase by so percent because of that. Now, imagine that increase, what the effect is going to have on the cost of food production, on even the farming, those who need those systems for the farms. So it leads to unreliabilities of the energy system. Then also from the water sector also, the rivers are running low, irrigations becomes unreliable, and also pumping energy system becomes intensive for those water systems. So it's one interconnected system that is under stress. So once ever you look at one resource of water or energy or food, just so that you are not just looking at that problem alone, you are looking at the interconnected nature of that problem. So at the end of the day, it also has a nexus risk also on those three systems. The climate change, it's a ravaging war. And this leads to a drought frequency that we can see in Western Cape and semi-arid regions, and also temperature rise. Rising heat simultaneously also reduces crop yields and increased water demand. It's not just affecting you in your homes. It's affecting water, it's affecting energy, it's affecting food crops. Then also, energy instability, given the impact of load shedding, leads to constraint in water pumping, the storage and agro-processing capacity also. So there's a compounding risk. And from our research center, what we have been doing so far is looking at how to bring in management system and digital solutions to solve the water, energy, and food issues. So that is why we have been looking at it from a sectoral to a system thinking. We are planning these three resources as one integrated system, not just separate mandate to say, okay, let me just address water alone or food alone. So, and that is why, from our own research, the 4IR technologies have been seen as an accelerated enhancer. Yes, we want to push Nexus systems. Yes, we want to push Nexus solutions. But we're now using 4IR as what? An accelerated enhancer to boost these solutions. And that is why, if you come across research, so those of us that are in that space, we hear things like Water 4.0, Energy 4.0, Agri-Food 4.0. And we have been able to discover that the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, mostly affect the water resources. That you can use it also as a solution for that resource. Likewise, also in the energy sector, we are looking at IoT, AI, big data, 3D printing, cloud computing, and blockchain for energy solutions. And in the food sector also, these technologies are also affecting the way we design our food system. So in a nutshell also, the planning response is also we are trying to move from a centralized aspect of solutions to a decentralized solution. We are trying to see how we can tackle some of these issues from the local perspective, where we don't need to wait for the municipality, or we don't need to wait for at the province level before we solve issues or problems regarding the web nexus at the local level. So from our research, I'm just going to pick up on 3 technologies that we have research on. One is IoT. Someone mentioned questions regarding data the other time. IoT, Internet of Things, can enable us to gather appropriate data from these 3 resources. Because you can also create solutions if you don't have data about those solutions. You can create solutions if you don't even know what you want to create solutions on. So the IoT helps us with that. And also it also helps us in standardizations of the sectors. We have many conflicting standards developed or copied from different areas that we are applying in these 3 resource areas. And it makes the Nexus system very, very problematic. Then also AI. Everybody likes AI now. It's in applications to Web Nexus, we are able to determine intelligence areas for the Web Nexus. And what do I mean by intelligence areas? Is areas where there are more problems regarding this nexus. You are able to determine, oh, these are what we want to do. These are what we can do. And with that intelligence areas, we are able to predict what could happen based on the availability of data. So the data technology enhancing the planning response to combat climate change, and then also blockchain. I believe most of us here are within the UJ blockchain system. And we understand the impact of transactions in all what we are saying now. What is the transaction cost in developing energy system? How does that transaction cost affect water or food? So the blockchain system also helps us in determining the multiplier effect of transaction cost and also the operational cost within the web within the web nexus. And also the use of smart contracts within the blockchain system also can help us to ensure that we have different stakeholders coming together, agreeing on what to do. If they say, okay, we want to do a particular solutions, the web nexus solutions, the smart contract gives us that leverage for appropriate stakeholders management. So another planning response is from linear to circular. We heard about the biogas practicalities that Prof mentioned earlier. So how we are going to look at the waste that we generate from these 3 resources, how do we convert them? The web nexus enables us to the extent that if there is water waste. What are you going to do with that water waste? Are you going to just waste it or just leave it like that? How do you convert it? Because at the end of the day, what we are driving out is security of these three resources. What? Security of these three resources. And not just the security alone, sustainable security. That we have enough for ourselves in this generation, and we also have enough for future generations also. And these are the FEW Nexus in action, the FEW Nexus in action. From planning evidence from the feed, we have an applications of solar-powered irrigation in Kenya, Zimbabwe, and South Africa, which has led to 50 to 70% input cost reduction in diesel. And also, we have a 20 to 40% increase in crop yield. And this is because of the Nexus. The energy system is enabling the water system. The water system is enabling the food system. So at the core of the design, we are incorporating FEW Nexus into the design. You are not just designing it without looking at the impact it costs for other resources also. Then also we have in rural Africas across multiple countries, we have biogas and microgrids, which has led to reduction in wood fuel reliance. And this is more pertinent to rural areas, where people use wood as a source of energy for cooking, without looking at the impact it has on their own health. So with the FEW Nexus, we can reduce that reliance on wood fuel, and also reduce post-harvest loss by 30%. And that is why I mentioned earlier that the 4IR technologies enhances these accelerated solutions that we are bringing on board. And also in the Western Cape also, given the wastewater reuse, there is a reduction in freshwater pressure, and also we are able to have, we can put crop productions, sustain crop productions under scarcity. So whereby we are turning the constraint into a reuse. Okay, this is wastewater, can we use it in the agricultural feed? Or this is waste we have from all forms of food, can we turn that also into energy? And also this Masaba Nature Reserve in Limpopo, a FEW Nexus, a FEW Nexus also is in action there, where there's 30 to 50% water savings via efficiency. So in a nutshell, what we are trying to say is that the FEW Nexus is possible. The Nexus is possible. And it focuses on us being a decentralized, a leadership, a leader that focuses on Nexus, so to say. We are not just thinking about the sectors alone. We are thinking about the system. How does the input of one affect the other? Also, how do we integrate competing priorities under uncertainties? That is what the Nexus also gives us, is an opportunity for us to become transformational leaders that can design solutions that addresses these particular challenges or resource constraints that we have within the FEW Nexus. And also to translate complexity into actionable planning. So in a nutshell, you as a scholar, the question you should ask yourself now is, what water issue have you seen? I know some of us have designed some solutions. You have some thoughts. Have you considered the Nexus aspect of it? Most of us are within the energy sector. What is the impact of food productions and water resource on what you are learning, also what you want to develop? So in a nutshell, become FEW Nexus leaders. And also there is a need for us to contextualize it. There are many solutions out there. And that is one problem we have in sub-Saharan Africa, where we are unable to contextualize knowledge that has been transferred. What we see, what we read, what we hear from other countries, we are not able to bring them to practical. We just implement. And from that implementations, it works for some time, and then the sustainability is not there. So as the Web Nexus leaders, you are also to contextualize the solutions to the local areas. Even if you are getting the data, so you're getting an idea, try and make sure you run a test run. Is it applicable within this particular area? So we have opportunities for Nexus planning, which includes the decentralized infrastructures, circular economic models, digital optimizations where we can fit in and also design solutions within that space. So in conclusion, the difference between vulnerability and resilience is not circumstances. Like I said earlier, it's not because the challenges are overwhelming. The challenges are there, and they will not even go away, because the existing drivers factors now will keep on being there. But we must adapt. We must design integrated solutions. So in a nutshell, we can't tame climate change without a Web Nexus approach that is driven by a Nexus-oriented scholar or leader like yourself, and that is enhanced by digital technologies of the fourth industrial revolutions and contextualized to local realities in anywhere we find ourselves. Thank you very much for this. I believe I've been able to do justice to Prof. Lada's presentation. Thank you.
Do you have questions for Dr. Love? Questions for Dr. Love? Is that a hand? No questions for him? Okay, no, thank you very much, everyone. We are here again next week to consider other allied topics. But I think the point I need to mention is that you've heard Prof. Sylvester. These are research areas that we want young people to come into, right? To start thinking with a Nexus perspective and to solve problems that you are aware of, that I myself might not be aware of, that Prof. Sylvester might not be aware of. The indigenous knowledge system that your grandmother tells you about, you know you need to bring it to the fore and then use it to solve some of these problems. There are funding opportunities. Prof. Sylvester's institution has given us some funding, right, for masters, for postgrad students, for female students. Priority, we need to fill those opportunities in the blockchain space, where there's a direct focus on blockchain for the Nexus. So that's why you see these two flyers. So as you think about your next steps for master's degrees, for postgraduate studies, come talk to us, right, and let's see how we can work together. So once more, I want to thank you all for coming through. There's refreshment. Prof. Sylvester, thank you very much, sir, for coming through. Thank you, everyone. Is that a question now? No, that's the one that you're very interested in. So it's at Kupanang, all right? You know Kupanang? Yeah. All right, thank you very much all. We'll see you next week.